This video is going to be on my everyday go-to makeup routine, so if you want to see how I got this look right here, then please keep watching. I'm going to start with priming my eyes, and I'm going to be using the MAC Painterly Paint Pot and my Beauty Blender that's very damp. And just grab a little bit and push that into my eyelids to kind of cancel out any veins and discoloration, and also to provide a nice base for the eyeshadow. Since this is just my everyday go-to makeup look, I'm only going to be using 2 eyeshadows all over the lid. This one is just a light shimmery color to kind of set the eyeshadow base, but you can also use any face powder you have or any kind of shimmery skin toned color that you have. I just like to set the base because it makes the other colors easier to blend on top. And then just to go in the crease, I'm using MAC Soft Brown on the same big fluffy brush, which is the Sigma E40. And I'm gonna windshield wiper that back and forth into the crease just to give a little definition. If you don't have an eyeshadow, any mid-tone brown bronzer or eyeshadow will work for this. I just like throwing a little definition into the crease to kind of bring some life to the eyes. Now that eyeshadow is done, I'm gonna move on to eyeliner, and I love rocking a wing in everyday life, so I'm gonna be using my Maybelline Unstoppable eyeliner in Onyx and my NYX Epic Ink Liner in black. So I always like to go in with this Unstoppable Maybelline liner first. It's just a crayon eyeliner. Any pencil or crayon you have that's easy for you to use would be best, and I kind of line the top part of my lid first, and then I draw the flick with the liquid liner, and I find this is way easier and it helps you get them even if you're not that comfortable with liquid liner. I don't like to go in too deep into the corners because that can really close your eyes off. So once you have your line as thick as you want it, this looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna switch over to the liquid liner, and I really like this NYX Epic Ink Liner because it has a brush tip, which I find is the easiest to draw a precise tip with, but any liquid liner that you're comfortable with works. I also like in the pen form because you can really easily create a straight line. So what I do is I take it and line it up with my bottom waterline and kind of try to match that line and follow it up. So I'm going to do the same thing on both sides. So just draw the line first and try to get the one on the other side to match before I draw the whole wing in case they're uneven. My wings are on, they're not very even, but that's okay, I don't care. Sometimes the eyeliner gods are just not in your favor. So once we add in mascara, it's gonna look a little better. So I'm gonna go with my favorite at the moment, which is the Estee Edit Edgiest Up and Out Double Mascara. And it's a dual-ended one. One end is volume, one end is lift. So I'm gonna go in with the volume end first. And then I'm gonna quickly go back in with the lift side. I find it works better when you layer each side when they're still kind of wet. Don't wait too long in between. Mascara is on, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to the base, and I'm going to be using the Estee Lauder Double Wear Light in 0.5. This is my favorite base at the moment because it gives a really medium to full coverage if you build it up, but it's also very long lasting like their classic Double Wear foundation, but doesn't have quite as much coverage. And I'm finding that I don't want to have quite as much coverage at the moment, and I don't have tons of blemishes. And I find that this covers any that I do have pretty well. So I just took 1 dollop and my damp beauty blender and blending it onto the T-zone. And now I'm going to take a second dollop on my beauty blender and use that to go over the cheeks. So that's one layer over the entire face, but I think I'm going to go in with one more little blob of foundation and kind of blend that all over as well, just to get a hint more coverage. So I'm pretty happy with the coverage of the foundation now. I'm going to move on to concealer. On an everyday basis, I tend to use my Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Concealer. I love this. If you don't have this, you need it. It's the easiest under eye concealer. It gives great coverage for dark circles, and it blends out very easily if you just tap it out with your finger. So typically I go for this. That's my holy grail all-time favorite under eye concealer. But lately I've been really loving this Becca Aqua Luminous Perfecting Concealer. I have the shade Porcelain, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and use today. This does take a little bit longer to blend out compared to the Maybelline, but I have a little bit of extra time today, so I'm gonna go for it. And I really like the finish and the color of this concealer as well. My concealer's all blended out, and now I'm going to set it with the Lauder Mercier translucent powder. And I'm just going to take a little bit of that. I'm tapping it into the lid of the product, and then taking the pointy end of my damp beauty blender and collecting it on there, and then I'm just going to press it into the concealer to set it. I'm not doing any intense baking and putting tons of powder, just enough to really set it. And now to set the rest of the face, I'm going to use the Pure 4-in-1 Pressed Mineral Makeup in the color Porcelain and my IT Cosmetics Kabuki brush. And I like to really press the powder into the skin because I find that that helps the liquid foundation underneath stay in place and give a little bit more full coverage as well. To warm up the face, I'm going to use the Becca Sunlit bronzer in Capri Coast. I'm obsessed with this bronzer currently, and I use my Real Techniques Duo Fiber face brush to apply it. I find that using a duo fiber larger brush like this makes sure that you don't pack on too much bronzer right away. You can really build it up. That bronzer really gives a natural glow to the face. I love the finish of it, and there's 5 shades in that range, so there's even one lighter than that. If you're even more fair than me, that would probably suit you, but I really like Capri Coast. I think it looks beautiful for the summertime. So to highlight, I'm gonna also be using a Becca product. This is the Champagne Pop Highlighter, and I just take that on my EcoTools fan brush. I can get away with wearing this in the summer because I have slightly more color. In the winter, it's a little too pigmented and intense for me. But I'm loving it currently, so just barely dusting this on the top of my cheekbones. And then I also do a little bit on the tip of my nose and my Cupid's bow. And then to blend the bronzer and highlighter together, I'm gonna be using my favorite blush, the Clinique Cheek Pop Blush Pop in the color Plum Pop, which is a tongue twister, and my Estee Lauder blush brush, just to give a little bit of color. I love this because it's a cool toned pink, and it's not too intense. And I also like that it's matte because we have lots of other shimmer going on with the highlighter and that very glowy bronzer. Now that the face is done, I'm going to finish off the eyes by doing my eyebrows, and I'm going to be using the Anastasia brow powder in Taupe and my Anastasia 7B brush. I like this because it has the spoolie end, so you can brush up your brows before you start filling them in and really get a sense for where the natural shape should be. So I'm going to take the lighter side of this brow powder first on the angled end of the brush and fill in the fronts of my brows. Now that the fronts of my brows are filled in, I'm going to take the darker side of the brow powder and use that to fill in the tail. Now that my brows are filled in kind of how I want them, I'm going to go in with my Benefit Gimme Brow in the color 3 and set them. And now for my favorite part of makeup, which is the inner corner highlight. It's always my favorite part to do. You can use your finger and just go back in with whatever highlighter you used and just dab that on the inner corner, but I'm taking a small brush and my favorite inner corner highlighting shade from the Kevyn Aucoin Contour Book Volume 2, and it's just this brightening shade right here. You can tell this palette is well loved. So I'm just gonna take a little bit or a lot, depending on my mood. Oh, yep, it looks like a lot. Great, look how bright it is, I love it. I'm just obsessed with how intense the inner corner highlight is, so that's why I use it every time. I really don't use the rest of the powders or creams in this contour book. I really just use that inner corner eye highlight shade, and it's phenomenal. I almost forgot about bottom lash mascara, so I'm going to use my Clinique bottom lash mascara, but you can use whatever mascara you use on your top lashes. I just like this because the brush is small and it's easy to maneuver. And to finish off the look, I'm going to be using some of my favorite lip products. I just got this NYX Nude Retractable Lip Liner, and I'm loving it so far, so I'm going to line the lips first. And then to go over top, I'm going to be using my Estee Edit Mattified lipstick in shade 2 Sunday Vibe. And I love the vibe of this lipstick. So that's my current everyday makeup routine done. I love a lot of these products, especially that Estee Lauder foundation and the NYX lip liner and that Becca bronzer. So these are all the products I'm loving at the moment and my go-to look for every day. So I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you so much for watching.